Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about The Hardy Boys Season 3. So this is the final season, like I said when it was announced many months ago. And this show came back out in 2020. They skipped a year, and then the second season they came out in 2022. And so this is now Hulu's final season of The Hardy Boys. And it is the shortest season, only lasting 8 episodes. Ooh, I almost lost my voice. But yeah, it's only like 8 episodes this season. And it's very short. And for the most part, there's no filler. They just get straight to the point. However, the problem is, and I do have some mixed feelings about this season, there are at least 3 different plots going on in this 8 episode season. That's a lot for a teeny tiny season. And I don't know why they tried to cram in so much. I guess because maybe they was hoping to have more seasons, but that didn't happen, and who knows, but it's weird because it's kind of like if you were to watch this, each season, think of each season like a movie, just like one movie, it would be that of a trilogy. And so with this one, it takes you all the way back to the beginning and everything. And something you thought you knew, you didn't know because they added a new subplot. And so just like with every new season, there is a new villain. However, there's a major twist with this villain. A twist on a twist. And the twist on the twist had my mouth dropping, my jaw dropping and everything. I did not see that coming. And kudos to that, because I literally didn't see it coming. Because, there was that one twist. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But then it's like, wait, no, you gotta be kidding me, man. Now, as for the villains in this thing, part of the conflict I have with this season is that, okay, remember how last season ended with great grandpa George taking over Frank's body and everything, and Frank is now stuck in the crystal, at least his mind consciousness is. I was wondering, because see, season 2. Actually, let me go back to season 1. Season 1 was okay, but I really didn't know what to expect from that show, especially when it being set in the 80s and stuff. And, it was like one MacGuffin they was looking for, and like a bunch of strange people, and this cult, and this and that, and the pacing was a bit off at times, and the first season, in my opinion, is just okay. I need to rewatch it to get a different opinion of it. Season 2, I really, really enjoyed. Season 2 had me on the edge of my seat to where I stayed up like nearly all night, just like watching it and binging it and stuff, because it was a true mystery in season 2. More of a mystery than season 1. Season 1, because like I said before, I didn't really know what to expect. But in season 2, it's just like, oh my God, like, where is this going? It didn't go quite where I wanted it to, but it was still good enough. You know what I'm saying? And so because of that, in season 1, we have one MacGuffin. In season 2, we got some more MacGuffins. And so with these relics, they try to tie up that storyline along with the whole villain of season 2, Great Grandpa George. It gets wrapped up fairly quickly. Let's just say that it gets wrapped up in 3 episodes. I kid you not. And I was really expecting to see more of what evil George was gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like this is something he's been planning for decades, and he was willing to kill his own daughter and take his great grandson's body. And this dude is pure evil. So it's kind of like, okay, how evil they're gonna go with it? Not very far, and I was very disappointed in that. And so they had to tie up the loose ends by that. And that one scientist teacher dude, who brothers lost inside the crystal, they had to tie that up. And so basically, Mender, I think his name is, the scientist dude. It's just kind of like They did the same crap with the grandmother. First she's evil in the first season, and in the second season, oh no, now she's good and everything. It's like, let people just be bad, you know what I'm saying? And so that's like really disappointing. But the new villain in season three, it was just kind of like, okay, this is something that happened many years ago. It's connected to the MacGuffins, but it's not really the whole MacGuffin magical thing. It's more electronic, technological and stuff. And so it's like, now the technological stuff, I can dig it, but I can dig it in its own solo series, you know, not combined with stuff that happened in the other seasons and stuff. And it was just kind of an odd choice to go with that. It was an interesting story, and I did enjoy it for the technological aspect of it, but it just didn't mesh well with the MacGuffins and all this other crap, you know. And so I'm just kind of conflicted with that because this whole technological, like, you know, apocalyptic type thing that's going on, it should have been a season that is not connected to all the other stuff in the past. I think connecting it might hurt it a little bit because it doesn't flow very well with magical stuff and then technology, a new villain, and the new villain's like motivation and stuff. It's just very, very strange. Like it has to do with VR, like virtual reality and everything. And it's just kind of odd. And so when it comes to that of the cast, man, they have gotten so much older since 2020. So of course they had to film in 2019. The dude who plays Joe, he is so big now. He's not that little dude no more. And one thing I did appreciate, they had a bunch of flashbacks because they recreate when Frank touched the eye in the first season finale. They recreated that where he's floating in the air again, but this time they form a human chain out of the rest of the kids and stuff. The touch the eye and the MacGuffin, the other MacGuffin and stuff. And we got to see so many flashbacks to season 1 and 2. And Joe was so short, man. And it's kind of weird because Joe is the youngest, you know. And it's weird seeing him literally the same height as Frank and a little bit taller than Callie and everything. It's just kind of weird and stuff. Because I want to see that little scruffy kid again, you know? And as for the rest of the cast, this is where I have a bit of a problem. See, because there was only 8 episodes, there was no filler, there was no drama, and there was no character development. And so it was a little disappointing. The only real character development we really get in terms of the kids only is Frank, Joe, and that's really it. Like in terms of character development, in terms of something to do, then it's Frank, Joe, Callie, Drew is a new character named Drew in here, which is a kind of a nod to Nancy Drew. You know, if you ever watched my channel, you heard me talk about Nancy Drew or the Hardy Boys. You know, they're one and the same, created by the same person. They have been in the same novels, the same television shows back in the 80s and stuff. And so that's kind of like a nod to Nancy Drew. I like that, so that's cool. You know what I'm saying? And they can't have the real Nancy Drew there, but at least they had, like, you know, a makeshift one. And let's see. And that's really the only ones that get to do something significant and big. Minor is that of Biff and Phil. They have something to do. However, somebody else on the team could have done it. And in all honesty, it's like, I don't even know how they was able to figure that out. And if you was to kind of take them out of the show, you wouldn't miss anything. And then there's Chet and his girlfriend Belinda from season 2. Because Belinda was added into season 2. They are just there. They're there. They have a lot to say. I'm losing my voice. But he just whines all season, and she just acts like an annoying girlfriend. They don't really have anything significant to do to the plot, and they're literally just there to do grunt work and everything. And then all of a sudden, Chet decides to use the eye. I guess they needed him to do something cool this season. And that's really it. They're literally just there. If you were to take them out the show, you wouldn't be missing anything. And that's sad to say because, she had a big story arc in season 2, and her dad is still here again. I don't see the point in having her dad on this season. I really don't. Like, I truly, truly don't. But the people who had the least to do, my God, I couldn't believe this, was Trudy and Jesse. I was very, very, very shocked at how little they had to do and stuff. Like, Jess is probably in 2 episodes, barely saying anything, just there to arrest JB and stuff. And Trudy is literally just playing oh, I'm the aunt and I'm so worried. Where are the kids at? So she's running around town looking for them, and that's literally it. And then she gets kidnapped towards the end, and then she does help save the kids doing like a rescue at one point, and that's literally about it. They could have just given that role to somebody else. And I am very shocked. I am just very shocked at how little screen time both of them had. And I don't know if they was filming something else or they just didn't want to do it or what, but let's just say I am very shocked. Fenton, he's kind of there, he's kind of not. It's kind of hard to explain him because he's looking for whatever it was he was looking for in season 2. And something really interesting happens with his wife towards the end that's very emotional, but still he's barely there like he always is and stuff. And that's just really weird because I remember I used to love that dude in season 1, man. Like, he was just so cool and stuff. But it's just it's I don't know, it's weird, man. And seriously, it's just like weird. It's weird how the main cast is barely there because the new cast member, that's me just getting to her, she takes up a lot of screen time, and she's played by none other than Bailey Madison. Bailey Madison. I have seen her in so much. I have talked about her before, twice on this channel, and The Haunting Hour, and Pretty Little Liars Original Sin, which now got renamed to Summer School when it comes out later this year. I am a huge fan, and yes, I am proud of her. At just age 23, I remember when I first saw her on Wizards of Waverly Place. She played the female version of Max when he got turned into a girl. And I remember, like, I thought she was good in that, but it was just like she was just acting like a little kid, a bratty little kid, and she was kind of overdoing it back then. But since then, my God, man, she has really learned her craft. And she was so good this season and stuff. Like, she just like blew my mind and everything, how good she was. And it was just like, I can't say much more because, I'll get in a spoiler. I'm about to spoil it very soon, but she did like an amazing job and stuff. And so proud, man. Cause like when you see these older adults and they can't act that well, it's like, it's shameful when these young people have. And she's been working since she's been a little kid, you know what I'm saying? And she did an amazing job, but she did get a lot of freaking screen time and stuff. And because she's the new character. Now, as for that one girl who was Joe's love interest in the second season, she is nowhere to be found this season. And not much time has passed, so where the heck is she? And so with this season, it's been a good while since I saw the second season since last year. And so I remember some stuff, but then also I forgot some stuff, like whatever happened to Joe's, like, love interest. She's like gone. And so like, I still just think season 2 is like very, 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 very mysterious. So much happened in season 2 that when you watch season 3, it's a little bit of a downfall. See, in season 3, it's very, very rushed because it's only 8 episodes. They have to get through 3 plots. Those 3 plots is evil Grandpa Joe inside of Frank's body. a new villain who's looking to find these new relic MacGuffin type things and do something really bad with them. And then this kind of like virtual reality take over the world type plot. And it's just like three, really three. You're gonna try to cram three in 8 episodes and stuff. It's a bit too much, you know what I'm saying? And because of that, there is a bit plot armor in here. So it's not heavy on the plot armor, but it's just kind of like, things just happen very quickly and just like randomly. And it's like whenever they need something, oh, here it goes, something like that. Or like, um, they deduce things very quickly, which really pisses me off. These kids are way too smart, way too smart. They're literally able to figure things out in seconds. And the adult police and scientists and all these other folks can't figure nothing out. And it's kind of weird. I always hate that when these like young detective kids are able to figure things out within seconds. And I mean seconds. And so, that does kind of like bring it down a little bit and stuff because they are able to figure things out too quickly. And some of the people that figure things out, it's kind of like you wasn't that smart in the season before. And the people that was that smart the season before, they're not really doing that much and stuff. Like seriously, like Jet, like seriously, just take him out the show. You won't miss nothing. And there's really no point in having Belinda in this season. Somebody I was very shocked to see this season was Anastasia, the Russian girl who tricked Frank in season 1. She was gone in season 2. She is part of the circle who's looking for the eye. And she was a major character in season 1. And so they brought her back for the funeral, Frank's grandmother's funeral. And after that, she disappears until she's brought back again in the first episode, where she's looking for another relic. And then somebody saw some explosions and it caved in and killed her. They literally brought her back to say hello and then killed her. What was the point of even bringing her back? Seriously. But, they want to tie back into season 1 and everything with the MacGuffin. And that is very, very, very annoying and stuff. So, let's get into a couple of character profiles and stuff and tell you what this season is about. It's not a terrible season, don't get me wrong. I know I've been doing some complaining, like it's not terrible. It just doesn't mesh very well. They tried to go out with a huge bang, and they should have took their time, but they didn't have much time. They only had 8 episodes. The music kind of got on my nerves this season. It's a bit too loud. It doesn't really fit in the scenes. And I am glad they finally experimenting with music other than just rock. They have some like rap in there too, because that was big in the 80s. But who was listening to rap? Doesn't really seem like she will listen to rap. Now, I will say this. The look of the show, while it is still the same, it feels very different. In season 1, you very much got the distinction that it is set in the 80s, especially with the clothes. It looked very 80s. But somewhere in season 2, and especially in season 3, you don't really get that feeling. Like the clothes just look like regular clothes. They can go to any decade. They're no longer dressing like they did like in season 1. Also, no matter what season it is, nobody hair looks the way it does in the 80s. I don't understand why everybody has such a modern hairstyle, or at least a 90s, early 90s hairstyle. Also, they don't use any kind of 80s slang. So you really don't feel like you're in the 80s until you look at the technology. So let's get into some character profiles. Trudy and Jess, they're literally just there. They don't do nothing. They serve no point of like the season. They're literally just there. They must have just collected a paycheck or something like that. And since it's filmed in Canada, Most likely they probably got paid. And I'm very shocked at how they had no character development or profile, nothing. I think they move in together, and that's about it. Phil used to be kind of like the tech person in season one, whereas he got replaced by Drew this season when it comes to tech savviness and stuff. And his entire plot this season is that he is madly in love with that of Biff. And he has a huge crush on her. Everybody knows it. And she does find out, but she doesn't reciprocate. And he's kind of a little pushy, just a little bit. But then he backs off. But then he's all like, you're my best friend, da da da. But she never says it back until she thinks he's dead. And then he's all like, ha, I knew you liked me and everything. And that's literally all he does. Now, he does partner up with Biff a lot this season where they figure stuff out. And they are able to figure out something really interesting. Because, see, the person who hired JB to steal the MacGuffins and everything, they had to figure out who it was. And when they did figure out who it was, they heard a weird tapping in the background. And so somehow they're able to deduce that the tapping has to correlate with numbers and letters. And not only that, but the tapping is actually from a keyboard. Somebody jerry-rigged a laptop computer. Yeah, they got laptops here. I don't know when the first laptop was created, but they have it here in the 80s. And I'll get into that a little bit, reason why. And so somehow they're able to deduce that somebody is changing their voice with the computer by typing the words out. They're able to figure that out very quickly, and I don't know how they were able to figure that out. But they do. And that's basically all he does this season. Biff, they had to tie up her season 2 story arc of her wanting to meet her biological mom, which she never does this season. However, very early in those first 3 episodes, on one episode, she does meet her sister. They have pie together at the diner, and that's about it. And they bond very nicely. It would have been nice to see a bit more of that, but they had to rush this season, and she never got to meet her biological mom and stuff. And after meeting her sister, that's literally it. She doesn't talk about, oh, I want to know my mom. I want to know the rest of my family, blah, 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 blah. It's like none of that. It's like none of that stuff in season 2 mattered anymore to her. And so her and Joe are no longer pairing and stuff because, he liked that girl on the second season. So they try to do the whole Phil thing, but that just don't work with me. It just don't. I always wanted to see her and Joe together. They made a better duo and everything. Might as well just combine these two because they literally just was partnered with each other attached to the hip. So Chet and Belinda are literally just there. They always do the grunt work, spying on people, trying to steal something, getting chased by bad guys. That's about it. And when they have to get the eye back, he keeps it and stuff because he had to protect it. But for whatever reason, he decided to use it, linking him to it. And he saw a vision that helped out Belinda's dad, but he still got captured anyway. And other than that, it doesn't explain why all of a sudden he used the eye knowing he's not supposed to. But they needed him to do something, of significance. And so, that is literally all they do. And she's literally just the girlfriend who says a bunch of annoying stuff and runs and sometimes hollers, and that's about it. And that's really all they did. And that's quite a shame. It is quite a shame. And what's worse is that they're 2 people of color and they barely did anything this season, along with Biff. Callie's a person of color and she got to do some stuff. So thank God for that. So it's kind of hard to talk about the other characters without going into the major plot. So now I'm going to shift this a little bit differently, and I'm going to talk about the first plot. Evil great-grandpa George. So he's inside Frank's body, And nobody can figure that out, even though he's more moodier. Now, the actor who plays Frank did a very good job playing two different types of characters. He's really good at playing dark characters. He was in the last Halloween movie. And so, like, the only two people who's able to figure out something's wrong with him is, of course, Joe and, of course, Callie and everything. And, Joe, that's his brother, so he knows something different with him. And Callie, she's in love with him, so she'll know. But nobody else is able to figure that out. And so Grandpa Joe wants the eye and he wants the crystal. He wants the power of the eye and he'll do whatever it takes. He'll kill his daughter. He will kill his great grandkids if need be. And so he is off looking for the relics, but then, he ends up getting caught by Jess and has to go get interrogated. This causes the kids and JB to steal the bag and everything, and the kids literally tie him up. So for the first episode, he's basically just roaming around, being moody and looking for stuff. And then by episode 2, he is captured. He says a lot of smart mouth type stuff that pisses people off to the point where they want to hurt him, but they can't because he is in Frank's body. And I really like that, because you want to see him be evil and stuff. But they really didn't do it for too much of a long time. So he's basically just tied up and captured in episode 2. And by episode 3, this is when they go to the insane asylum to where that teacher scientist dude was. And they tell him, look, man, we need your help with the device and blah, blah, blah. He sneaks out of there off screen. This is one thing that pisses me off. A lot of stuff happens off screen this season. And that really bugs me because I want to see what's going on. And so he agrees to help them, but he wants to make sure that his brother is in the crystal and stuff. And he plans on staying there and dying with, his brother, because not too many consciousness can be inside the crystal. 2 is enough, and 3 is pushing it, and more than that is really pushing it. So we really don't get to see Frank's consciousness until episode 3. So we get to see him, he's roaming around, that eerie dimension and stuff. And they have to put the grandfather back inside. Joe has to go inside the crystal to get Frank. And so, Grandpa is evil in that dimension. He's pulling a gun. He wants to shoot Joe and everything like that. And so they're able to stop him and stuff and throw him in a closet. And he is now defeated just by throwing him in a closet. They say it's because they both linked with the eye, make them more powerful, and their mind is stronger than his in that reality. So the scientist dude, he finds his brother who was locked behind the door with a bunch of chains and stuff and locks. And he bid the dudes goodwill as they're leaving the crystal, and him and his brother die inside the crystal as the machine that they was hooked up to basically just explodes because too many consciousness in it will overload the energy of the crystal. After that, they keep the crystal, they keep the eye, but you know how things go. And so now that story arc is over with, but they have to deal with JB stealing the rest of the MacGuffins. They're looking for the codexes and stuff. And JB has a new boss. His boss is very ruthless and will hurt the Hardys. This causes JB to have a conscience. He's constantly threatening his boss, talking about leave the Hardy Boys alone. Those are his pals and all this other stuff. So they're trying to redeem him from all the bad stuff he's did in season 1, like kidnapping Joe and stuff like that. But we don't know who the boss is. And so they're all looking for the codices, and the codices have maps in them, but they don't know how to read them. They're like star charts and everything. They're able to figure it out way too quickly. I don't know what's going on. This is the problem, man. They figure crap out so quickly, you don't have time to try to figure it out with them. The codexes do their weird MacGuffin magic thing. They burn the map, and it turns out that there's a meteorite that's supposed to hit the Earth. at a certain day. They go there and the bad people get the new MacGuffin and everything. And so like doing some like really cool detective work and this and that, they are able to figure out, who stole like, the MacGuffins. But the problem is their assassin killed JB. The assassin was aiming for that of the boys, but JB decided to sacrifice himself to save Joe. Joe is very devastated by this and is heartbroken and crying and all this other stuff. It is still weird, their relationship in the show. He is a grown man who has befriended a little boy. And I told you this before, in season 1, he used to sneak into the dude's room to steal stuff. It's a weird thing. I don't know why they wrote that in there. It's very creepy. And now Joe all of a sudden acts like he's JB's best friend when he's always being snarky to him and stuff. So when they're listening to the tapes to find out who called JB and everything, Joe is all like, "Oh, I just want to hear JB's voice." Weird, weird, weird. And then they overhear the person's voice on the phone. Before I get into that, first, let me tell you who the assassin is. So, Fenton got a photograph of his dead wife wearing a hoodie. The person who's doing all the killing is technically his wife. I say technically because it's kind of is and it's kind of not. See, supposedly he came across this scientist after getting kidnapped, and the scientist is all like, "Oh, many years ago, your wife got too nosy and we had to kill her, but we didn't kill her and we put this microchip in her brain. So now we're able to control her, and now we're gonna control you." He fights his way out, he gets captured, this and that. And so like she's going around murdering people and stuff. And so, yeah. And it's really weird. But then, like I said before, it's not really her. But it kind of is, and it's kind of not. And what's so funny is that people keep seeing her walk around town in this weird looking hoodie and a trench coat, and nobody never really does anything. So now we get into plot C and everything, the last plot, the technological thing. See, this season we get a new character named Drew. And Drew is Callie's new roommate. And they don't really get off that well because when Callie's snooping around looking for the machine, Drew is sneaking around spying on her, but they befriend each other, and she tells her all about her dad. Her dad works for his name is like Hugh Sparrowell, and he works for like this like electronic company. His company has built some of the most innovative technology that they've ever seen, like a laptop of all things. Drew is very tech savvy, and she built her own laptop from scratch. Somebody is looking for Drew, and they text her through the computer. Yeah, the text messaging each other on the computer and stuff. And so it turns out just to be some boy at her school, and he finds out who she really is. She's using a false last name. She went by Drew Dar, but her real last name is Spirwell. And she didn't want nobody to know that's her dad. He's very ruthless. When she was growing up, he sent her to boarding school and everything. Turns out that their chauffeur is the former chauffeur of George. And George, entrusted his chauffeur and told him, after you're done, getting all the information, all the stuff you need, take care of all the loose ends. So he would have his chauffeur go around killing people. But then he instructed his daughter the grandmother of the boys to kill the chauffeur, but she did not want to. And so because of that, he got so mad, he took a piece of the crystal. He chopped the piece off and then he gave it to Drew as a necklace because he thinks of her as a surrogate daughter. And she just loves him to death as her surrogate dad. He's like literally the only person that cares for her. She has a sister named Olivia who works for the father. Olivia is really the person going around assassinating people. See, Fenton is brainwashed and he thinks it's his wife. Like he can see the image of his wife, but it's not really her. It's really Olivia. And so, like, Drew decides she's going to help out the Hardy Boys and the rest of the gang. And she's going to go against her father's will because apparently her father wants all the MacGuffins so he can, like, create more technology and stuff. See, all the technology he creates is a result of, like, you know, the crystal and stuff like that. And his, like I said before, his technology is very advanced. So, you know, they doing this type of Mission Impossible type thing. They're trying to get like his key card. They're trying to find a machine that like, you know, can power up like, you know, all the MacGuffins and everything. And this is when all the twist comes in. See, the father is a red herring and everything. And a very good one. I thought for sure he was just that evil because he is that mean and everything. And so then Olivia, who's doing all the killing, she's in the room with I think maybe it was the Hardys, I think, or somebody else. And you assume, oh, okay, so she double crossed her father, and she's the real, like, you know, major bad guy and everything, right? Because she knew about all the MacGuffins and this and that. No, it's Drew. She comes in and she reveals she is the main villain of the season. Blew my mind, had my jaw on the floor, and my eyes were a bugging out. And I could not believe it. And Bailey did such a great job. She went from being like this schoolgirl wearing a schoolgirl outfit to like dressing like a grown woman in a business attire. And it turns out Drew's big plan is to not in like see like she captured the Hardys and she said she's gonna use them as like the prototype to put the chips in their brain and stuff. When that happens, all of a sudden the boys' parents come in and save the day. And as I'm watching that 7th episode, I'm just like, something don't feel right. This happened way too early. I know it's a rush season, but something don't feel right. And then all of a sudden, it turns out the boys are actually in virtual reality along with their fathers. See, it's not a microchip she plans on implanting in people's brains. She lied when she said she wanted to control people. It turns out that she really just wants to put everybody in the world in virtual reality and everything. Why? Heck if I know. And so she says she's very vindictive, she's very cruel, and nobody believes in her. And she's very smart, but she doesn't get no credit. She double crosses her sister and murders her sister because she said that her sister ratted out the chauffeur. And because of that, he was fired. And she lost the only real father she only knew. So she wants to use the eye and she wants to use the crystal to power up the brand new MacGuffin, hook it up to a computer, and put everybody in virtual reality. So not only did Drew create virtual reality, create a laptop, but she's about to create the internet as well. I'll get into that a little bit later. Like I said before, this season just kind of went off the rails in a technological kind of way. So she powers up like the device and it's able to connect to everybody in the world, right? So everybody is in virtual reality and sharing the same consciousness, except for the group. They're down in the bunker except for Chet, but he later on comes in. Now, the Hardy Boys, when they was in the virtual reality, they got to see their mom. And they went back to their old house and everything was like the way it used to be. They played baseball, they cooked together, they was in bliss. But the boys were able to snap out of it because Joe saw JB in his fantasy. And he knows JB is dead. And so, like, it was a very touching moment of them getting to be with their mom, but their mom was never there. She was literally just a figment of her, the dad's imagination and stuff. They all got to say their goodbyes, and it felt so real, you know. But the boys said they was able to snap out of it because they still have some residual traces of the eye and everything. So they're able to snap out of it, which begs the question, if Chet used the eye, how come he couldn't snap out of it? I guess you have to absorb the entire power and stuff. So they have to figure out, like, you know, the kill switch in order to turn off the device and everything. But they don't know what it is. This is when Callie comes into play. She goes inside and they trick Drew. Drew's about to shoot the Hardy Boys, but in comes Callie and she smashes Drew's head with great grandpa George's skull and everything. His, like, you know, the decomposing skull. And so, like, then they hook her up to the machine and Callie goes in there taunting her. This is when we get a lot of humor and stuff, which is kind of off-putting and out of place. We see Drew is so happy she took over the world that she's literally just dancing like she's in the 80s like music video and stuff until she sees Chet and she realizes, what the heck is he doing here? And then she sees Callie. She realizes she's hooked up to the machine. Callie is able to, like, you know, manipulate her and find out what the kill switch is. It's the eye. That is the way to turn off all this, like, virtual reality. So the Hardy Boys have to unleash the power of the eye and infuse it to everybody in the world. Now, this is kind of weird. For the past 2 seasons, we are meant to believe the power of the eye is very evil. But she was able to use the crystal and all this other crap to bring on, like, happiness to people. So that was 2 pointless seasons. And so they do that, they unleash the power, and this is when we get a call back to season 1 where they're floating in air, singing all the flashbacks. They touch the eye and then boom, everybody's out of virtual reality. But this fried Drew's brain and she's placed in a mental hospital where now her dad comes to visit her every day. The group have to go to the NS, I think it's called. And basically the dude that Belinda's father worked for was kind of like an FBI agent. He's all like, look, we're gonna pretend like this never happened because everybody who was affected by this don't remember nothing. So y'all gonna sign these NDAs, and Drew's father gonna give y'all laptops and everything. So that's kind of weird, and they accept it and they take it, which is just weird and all out of place. And that dude, how is he even dead? This part don't make no sense. So he's very annoying, and I don't understand why he's in the show. He goes to try to stop Olivia and he ends up getting shot. Chet and Belinda think he's dead and they run off. Then we see him in the virtual reality that the Hardy Boys cooked up and he's all like, oh, I was wearing a vest. But the cop dude was never in the virtual reality. Then it turns out he just got shot in the arm and everything. Weird. Anyways, so, like, it turns out that what Drew did somehow has connected all the devices. Everything that Stillwells makes, like computers, TVs, laptops, phones, did I say television, microwaves, they're all connected through a source. The internet. Which was technically was around in the 80s and was not. It was primarily used by the military so they can communicate, but it was not commercially used at the time. So Drew created the internet though. What the? And Callie figured out how to use dial-up in the 80s, which should not have been existed until the 90s. Anyways, the boys don't know what they're gonna do with their lives anymore. And the dad, along with his cop friend, decided the boys can start their own little detective agency. So that's what they're gonna do with their friends. It's a nice bonding moment with all the kids at the end. It felt very genuine, and it felt like they really connected as like a cast. And the new case they're going to take on, because the ending is kind of a cliffhanger and kind of not. It's just kind of like a little gag. Basically, somebody is stealing stamps. They don't know who it is, but Phil thinks it's like Frank's boss that works at the diner. He don't know why he thinks that, he just thinks that. Then there's a cute little scene with the boss at night, closing up, calling somebody, his boss, and it's all like, somebody's on to us, we need to get rid of these stamps. And it just ends. It's strange to think how we started off with this show. Like, this is from season 1 of them riding their bikes in the street. It was one of those moments I really loved about season 1 that made it feel so 80s and nostalgic and like a period piece and everything. It's just like, you know, two boys in the street riding their bikes, having a good time after they just saved the world and everything. And it's really evolved since then. Sometimes it evolved a bit too much, a little too ambitious. It doesn't always feel like a period piece. Like, I don't know why it's set in the 80s. It was kind of pointless to set it there. They just did it because, you know, that's when the Hardy Boys books were around. And, you know, there was a bike ride scene this season where the kids are like being chased by Olivia in cars. It's a fun little scene, but it didn't have that same feel as the bike scene from the first. But like I said before, it's not a terrible season. It just feels... Sorry about that, my camera died. It's not a terrible season, it just feels a bit messy at times. It's like, you know, I get what they was trying to do, but all that technological, take over the world type thing, it just felt out of place with the first 2 seasons, and it didn't really connect. It was forced connecting, and I don't really like that. And, you know, I get they want to do something completely different, but they really should have centered it around evil Grandpa George and everything. And him and his grand plan of like however he wanted to take over the world with all the MacGuffins and stuff. That would have brought it to full circle. So while I do like the whole Drew storyline and, you know, technological type thing, it was just came out of nowhere. And this would have been a perfect like trilogy of like a series if they would have had it full circle and had everything connect properly. The first 2 seasons do that beautifully, but then you get this third that just feels like a monkey wrench that was just like thrown in like a machine and stuff. Now, when it comes to this series, I have no idea if it's like a huge hit or like a sleeper hit or just a sleeper, because of the simple fact that it does have its fans, but you never hear nobody ever really talking about this show. Not only that, but each season kept getting smaller and smaller. Not only that, but like, wait, did I say this was 8 episodes or was it 6? It's one of those two. It's either 6 or 8 episodes. I can't remember. But anyway, after the first season, there was no buzz on the show. And for nearly a year, then it finally got like renewed late at night. And then like for season 3, it got renewed once again late at night. So nobody really knew when this show was getting renewed. Nobody knew when it was coming on. It's kind of one of those shows that's like there, but you're unaware of it and stuff. And who doesn't really promote like this show at all and stuff? The stars of this show don't really promote this show all that well. And so I've always wondered, how did this show like fare, you know? Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.